Sabato Di Serrano does not love having people over at his home. I never host anyone. Di Serrano, the creative director of Gucci, tells me as we seated on his living room couch across from his snoozing dapple Dutch hound Luke's. Colleagues aren't invited for dinner. His husband lives in Brussels. Even his parents don't get to spend the night. It's my place where I relax, says De Serrano, a baby-faced 40 with closely cropped hair and beard, as he fidgets with the strings of his vintage Jurassic Park sweatshirt, where I disconnect from work. The walls of the apartment on a winding street in the Renaissance quarter of Rome are decorated with contemporary works by Janis Collins, a Greek artist whose scrawled words over his lithographs, and Sidival Fila, a Francian fairer whose paints canvases of swan fabrics. There are prints of Italian icon, including one of the writer and director Pier Paolo Pasolini. Di Serrano proudly tells me the value of the letters have skyrocketed since the predecessors at Gucci, Alejandro Michel, staged a show of the Prince photographer Paolo di Paolo at Rome Museum. Beneath covered ceiling and atop the room's minimalistic deco, furniture rest fertile sculptures from Sardinia, one of which has the deep Bordeaux color with which Di Serrano is repainting Gucci's bag and shoes and skirts and jackets. He gave the color and his first runway collection last September the name of Ancora, which means again. In the insatiable sense, he tells me when you kiss someone that you like and you don't want to stop doing it, this is his ambition for Gucci too. He tells me to imbue it with passion. I want Gucci to touch people's heart, he says. Behind him, as he tosses a chewy toy to loose, is a monograph on Valentino, the Roman fashion house that was his home for the last 14 years and from which the fashion giant Kering plucked him to lead Gucci, its flagship brand, in January 2023. Beyond the closed doors behind us on the sofa, meanwhile, is an off-limits studio bursting with ideas for the February runaway shows, closets filled with works in progress and boxes he's keeping as Gucci moves to the company's design operation to Milan. Resting among the fashion and art books, including the work of Tom Ford, and lining the hallway are two ceramic hands from his native Naples that one of his brothers gave him, one hand making the sign of Kukul and the other with the middle finger in the air. He says, I don't works. Di Serrano says with half a smile, maybe he's right. Family is central to Di Serrano. 2 days earlier, he joined his mother and father and brother in the northern city of Como, where they all moved decades ago. They ate tuna pesto and squid at his mother's, integrated him about Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck and all the other celebrities he dressed and met at Gucci's Los Angeles County Museum of Art Gala in November. He told her how he hit off with Kristen Dunst and how strange it was to be treated as famous by the famous. This is the first time that I was a celebrity too. DiSerrano tells me talking with some about Kim Kardashian coming over because she wanted to meet him or being introduced to Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio. I have seen Titanic 15 times. He was joined at LACMA by his husband of 4 years, Daniele Calisti, a lawyer with the European Commission in Brussels, whom he met in 2012 on the black sand of the Sicilian island Stromboli. Their first kiss on the dance floor is recorded on DiSerrano's art-heavy Instagram account, but in the apartment there are no pictures of his husband or his family. The only family photo is a childhood image of DiSerrano himself. "This is me," he says in the foyer, pointing at the toddler with the curly blonde locks seated on a mini Vespa with training wheels and wearing red pants and mock turtleneck sweater. "There are even more embarrassing ones," he said. "But when I ask to see them, he declines. Let's not overdo it," he says with a laugh. For nearly the last decade, Gucci turned overdoing it into both an enthuse and a business plan under the maximalist envelope pushing vision of Michele, whose last super look and bejeweled fingers made him a prophet of the fashion celebrity industrial complex. Sales multiplied to nearly 10 billion euros a year, but Michele, who widened the runway to make room for all walks of fashion life, was not on board with Kering's strategy to grow that number as high as 15 billion by shifting his design and expanding his audience beyond the young and diverse crowd of fashion fanatics to target deeper pockets and a broader constituency. When Michele left in November 2022, Kering shot a designer who's like Michele and Ford before him could once again Ancora transform the brand by connecting it more directly to its heritage and selling more to the kind of people who could afford to buy and wear it. I didn't want a rupture, I wanted an evolution. Kering's chairman and CEO, Francois Henry Pinel, tells me to achieve the brand's potential, he said it needed to avoid overexposure, maintain its joyfulness, enhance its sexiness, and appeal to the broader audience of luxury consumers who, he says, I have never tried before. To reach them, he turned to DiSerrano, then Valentino's fashion director of men and women's ready-to-wear. DiSerrano mission at Gucci is, in a way, to make the storied house a little bit more like his own urban, contemporary and chic and sensual hints of intrigue behind the doors. DiSerrano's first runway show in Milan in September began with a long grey wool overcoat open over shorts and clinched by Gigi branded belt and tight white tank top. The taste of color came from the classic Gucci red and green in the coat's band and the gold from the chunky necklace, but the real flavor was supplied by the crimson of Ancora red of the Jackie bag over the shoulder and the platform from horsebait loafers that hurried back to the early odds. Then, when Discerno, then a student in Milan, first became immersed in high fashion, if Discerno Gucci takes off, people are going to look a lot taller this year. The colors were mostly muted blacks and blues and whites, a lacy pink lingerie dress under a beige overcoat, crystal embroideries on shirts and bras, and tinsel fringes on almost saggy looking heel made appearances, but always as refined accent, not blurted out declaration of self expression. People have written of my fashion and minimal, quiet luxury, but to me it's really the opposite. Designer said my overcoat has a shape that it is the result of curating process. We tested it, the juice for the OT and studied the wave and wrap and even width of the thread with fabric suppliers. At the end, you see a gray coat, but it's a little more than a gray coat. Instead of making customers for an alternate universe, Discerner tells me in what seems to be a reference to his predecessors, he wanted to dress people who go to work and on dates and wants them to wear the smartest, sexiest, most Italian Gucci outfits he can imagine. I don't want the invitees to my runways to say wow, wow, and then forget about it the next day. He said he wants people to appreciate the quality and the hidden detail of his design. He wants them to dream about it and then go into the store in 4 months and buy it and wear it.